Hey, black women. I just wanted to do a little bit more talking about this whole thing with the South African people and them getting upset about the Zulu parade from New Orleans, right? And I really think that they don't understand that in America, they had Africans from all over Africa, the whole entire continent, come to America. And they did that on the boats specifically, and when they got to the plantations, so that the African people were not able to communicate and plot with each other against the white people and the slave masters and the whole system of slavery in America. Like, you would actually think that these African people, with all the colonization they've been through, the apartheid and everything else, would have more sense to understand that black American people are not your enemy. White Americans and white people in general are your enemy. And they have shown you that in real time. So for them to get upset over Louisianan people practicing their own cultural practices from people who were literally related to them, who are part of who we are in that entire state, not just the little place of New Orleans, right? Is ridiculous. And it goes to show you that they really don't know anything about American history, and they damn sure don't know nothing about Louisiana. Louisiana is the only state in America where you can go to this day and literally see traces of the African enslaved people who were brought there, who are our foremothers. As a little girl, when we would visit New Orleans, and if you go there today, it'll still be there. There is a park called Congo Square. Now, do you hear the Congolese people getting upset over the fact that we are respecting and giving tribute and paying homage to our ancestors who were from the Congo, that taught us different things and practices that are part of our culture to this day that we have never forgotten? And that's what makes New Orleans and Louisiana so great, is because all of the African mothers who are the mothers to my mothers, we remember through our dances, through our way we dress, through our lingo, the way we talk, our slang, the way we comb our hair, the way we carry ourselves, the way we care for our children, is all taught from all those African women who were our grandmothers. This really insults me, because being a daughter of Louisiana, my grandmother was so proud of her grandmothers who were actually from Africa, and taught us, well, not me because I wasn't there, but taught us collectively like parts of the languages that they remembered and that they were able to sneak and teach. Because what these South African people don't understand, or they're not trying to give any empathy to, is those African women were killed for speaking their language, for teaching their traditions, but they did it anyway. So for us to have the Zulu parade, or for us to have our traditional dances in the middle of Congo Square, and us to practice hoodoo and all the things that we learned from those women, is the way we show our love, respect, and our appreciation for the lives and the blood those women that we are related to shed for that land to be what it is today, and for us to come from all that sorrow and that suffering. And the fact that they don't understand that really, really saddens me, and it makes me have a level of disdain for them, because it's like, I was one of the first people as a creator on this platform to talk about the horrific killings in the Congo and the abuse of the children and the women for not the Congolese people, because they're not talking about American black people, but for the South African people to be this way towards us, it just really shows you how horrible white supremacy penetrates the minds of Africans and really fucks them up. Because nobody was more of a cheerleader than black American people when Mandela was going through his ordeal with the South African government, when Winnie was being harassed, and all the things she went through when he was in jail, all the American black people that went over there to fight and protest and do everything and be a part of every movement from abroad that they could to help everybody. To have these people talk like this now, it just goes to show you how they're so whitewashed in their brains, and that they don't have any respect for even their own African relatives who became our ancestors due to the brutality and savagery they went through during slavery. And it just makes me disconnect from them and not even see them as anybody connected to me, because you disrespecting us, and we literally come from the huge collective of American black people who came from the transatlantic slave trade. Those of us, I feel completely disrespected to have them talking like that to us when we're showing a level of respect for our ancestors. It has nothing to do with you and whatever practices you have in your culture and your country, because we don't all collectively only come from South Africa. We come from the entire continent, which is why a lot of us literally look like everybody in Africa in different places. Like, you could take an American black person and put them in any region in Africa where they look similar, and they will fit in, because we come from all over that continent. And it just doesn't make sense that they have no respect for the suffering and the crimes against humanity that was committed against us then and now, and that they don't even see the duality of how colonization affects them as well as us in this very fucking moment. To have them calling us dumb shit like Akatas and talking about how they're gonna put on blackface and have a parade and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? We are not your enemy, nor were we trying to insult you or anything else. This is what the people who came from Africa that we are related to taught us was what we were and what we should do to show respect for who and what we are. I don't understand how that's so fucking difficult to understand. I really don't. And it's wild, because you do know that us black American people are a complete mixture of everything that America is. The so-called Native Americans, the original copper people, which are the black people that were here when they found America, all the way back to the first fucking explorer. And then the Africans they brought here, and the invading Europeans that colonized the land, that are not from America, that you all only think are American when they are just as foreign and just as other as everybody else in this country. So it's crazy, because when you think of Louisiana, right? People love the Mardi Gras. Okay, let's talk about it for a minute. Because there are festivals in every parish in Louisiana, in every part of Louisiana, to respect and show representation for all of the mixtures of what created Louisiana and the black people that come from there. Like when we do Mardi Gras, Every person in Louisiana has Native American, unfortunately European, pirate, German, French, Spanish, African, and many other European people that I can't think of right now, blood running through our veins, okay? However, when you see us put the feathers on our costume and we dance around in that circle, and then we stop, we turn to the left, and then we turn to the right, we jump, we holler and scream, that is the Native American influence as well as the African. Now, it is totally crazy how Native Americans can understand and see their contributing culture in who we are as a people from Louisiana, but the African people got a problem with it. They see their small part and they're having a fit, or maybe they're just saying the name of it and having a fit, right? But throughout Louisiana, you have many more parades named after other African places and Native Americans, and you actually have parishes where the majority of the people practice cultures that come from Native Americans and the Africans that were in this land before a lot of what we know today as slavery took over the whole land. Because you had people who came here way before the whites. That's why I said a video is not going to do the justice of the real history of America. To get across what I'm saying is that the amalgamation of all the different people that make up the modern day Louisianan people is a multitude of things, people, incidents. It's the whole history of the state. And for these people to feel like they take one little thing and blow it out of proportion is just, you just looking to have a problem because you just don't like American black people. And if you don't like American black people, then stay out of our culture that you claim we don't have. Stop doing everything we do in this country and try to make money off of it and expand off of it. Keep your singers and all that shit. Keep them in your own country. Stop bringing them here. Stop stealing our way of singing, our way of everything. Because the way we do things seems to always be a little bit better than everybody else's. And so y'all always pick from what we have created. So if you have such a problem with us, completely separate yourself from us completely. You could do whatever parade you need to do and all of that. And you stay over there in Africa and we'll stay over here in America, and we don't need to have shit to do with each other. Because you're being completely stupid. You really are. Because we're not fucking Akatas or any of that shit you call us. And it's crazy how you call us fucking slang and terrible names, and you kiss the asses of white people. But you don't have no fucked up name for white people. And they have destroyed your company. They have destroyed your country and destroyed your goddamn generations to come. Because you allowed those people to come there, take over your entire country and make it where you are in debt and servitude to them. It makes no sense. But you're talking about us, a people who were snatched from many parts of the world, brought to a land, and we basically are what this country is. We built it. Our essence of who we are makes this place what it is. And without us, it would not be anything without us. You have this idiotic president right now trying to erase our history or whatever. That means nothing to us because they can't. Our history is all over this motherfucker. Every building and road you walk on or walk by is because of formerly enslaved people and African people who worked on it after them. Everything that has been invented in this country is because of us. Everything that gave this place any social relevance is because of us. And it's like, for you to think that because our history is based in many people coming together and us respecting that in the show of a parade, a festival, the way we wear our hair, the way we talk, the way we dress in our clothes, the way we put up statues of people who were important to us from Africa in our parks, in our homes, the altars that we have in our house that are very symbolic to the spirituality in Africa. For you to talk about us without even taking the time to learn anything about us is so, so insulting. When all we do is respect and appreciate everything that made us who we are and what we are, which is something you can't say for yourself because you crying about shit that doesn't have anything to do with you. You don't make sense. You really don't. And the whole point of the parade is to worship and respect people and incidents in cultures that were monumental. Not to talk about the everyday bits of the culture that we really don't know anything about because we're not South African. When I say we, I'm talking collectively about Louisiana. But when we do parades, right, we're doing parades for the spirit, for the symbolism of what things stand for. So if you talk about the Zulu parade, you're talking about people being respected and represented like Shaka Zulu, Queen Nandi. All that type of stuff is what we are giving thanks for and giving appreciation for. And we're also most especially giving respect and representation to our ancestors who came from South Africa and suffered like Sarah Baartman to be put on display like an animal in the zoo, to have white people pick and prod and experiment on her flesh and her body because her body was built bigger and better than white women. I bet a lot of you South Africans don't even know who Sarah Baartman is and what these horrific Europeans did to her. But yet you're talking about a parade you don't even understand where and how and what it represents. You don't. That's the shit that's making me mad. Is because we sit around and we respect the people we come from, even if we don't understand the complete culture, even if we don't speak the language. We respected the women we come from, and we respected the horror, sorrow, and suffering they went through, which is why we do the majority of the shit that we do in Louisiana. Like, I don't know if y'all know this, but the reason that we have Mardi Gras is not because we just want to come out and dance and act silly and shit for a couple of days and sell things and make money. No. That is a whole bunch of history put together to represent the different periods of transition of black women who had to go from slavery to prostitution to make a living, to being sold, indentured, gone through. There's a period in Louisiana where black women were mostly put in brothels, right? To be comfort girls and women bred to be like mail order brides for European men, and to be picked to be a local wife, a second wife to white men, because they had laws where they could do that back then. So when we do these parades, it is for the different levels of fucked up living Black women and the Native women we come from had to go through in that state. And when those women told their stories as they made their quilts, or as they made their costumes, or they had to think of different ways to sell themselves, to feed their families, or whatever it was, to keep a roof over their head and keep their children fed and keep the men they loved and cared for from being killed. That is very much a part of who we are. And it is the marriage of Native American women with African men and vice versa. Them teaching each other, well, this is what we do where I'm from, and this is what I do from where I come from. And then blending that together to make one thing for everybody to understand and share and make it ours. I'm getting upset because they just don't know anything about our particular state and the history of Black women in that state. And it makes me angry, because I think about, like, when my grandmother used to tell me stories about her grandmother and her grandmother's grandmother, and how a lot of the Native women who were dark because they were dark, right? Because Native Americans are not originally the Native Americans you see today. They were actually Black people, right? So those people, when the Spaniards came and all the other people came and they started having children with them, they turned into the ones that you see today that they call Native Americans, right? Those women were done horribly and forced to, like, literally populate the small towns until they got those huge parishes that are there now, right? And it was just the way they took away their culture, they took away the essence of who they are, who they were, by telling them that they were not going to be Choctaw, they were not going to be Tsistis or Cheyenne. Now they were just going to be Black. They're not going to be any other tribe. You just going to be known as this, right? All of those things people went through had their identities, like, literally ripped from them. And they were putting people into schools and beating them so that they would stop learning and spreading and teaching their language and their ways and their traditions. All of this stuff is why when we have parades and we have different traditional dance, or we practice hoodoo in different areas, is because of all the suffering those women went through. And the things we do to this day are to hold on to the different practices and cultures, and the remembering the history of all those women that we all come from. Which is why I don't understand why they're getting upset over stuff they don't understand. And like I said earlier, you don't see the French people yelling and screaming about us having Mardi Gras. You don't see the Native Americans getting upset about us having Mardi Gras. The only ones crying are South Africans currently. You don't see the Congolese getting upset over the fact that we have an actual place in the park called Congo Square, where every year there's a celebration for our African ancestors. When you go in that park, underneath the monument of Congo Square, there's a huge plaque, right? To the left of it is a big statue that shows the history of our people. It has the African women, the African men, the Native American woman. It has all of us blended right there in that statue to show how we blended our cultures together to make one people. And then if you go a little further in the park, straight ahead, there's a statue of an African king who literally was enslaved in Louisiana, in New Orleans. If you go in the park, I don't remember his name, I'm sorry right now, because I'm getting emotional and I'm trying to control myself, right? Because it's like they disregard the crimes against humanity that was committed on us, and all the killing and the torture that we went through. Like, we are disposable. And like the people, all the people that we come from, we don't have a fucking right to care about them, love them, and hold that identity of who they were, very close to who we are today. Like, it just makes me angry. It really does. Like, I am the daughter of Creole women. I am the daughter of women who have French fathers, African mothers, Native American mothers, and come on. And when we blend all that together, because all of that is who we are, you getting upset because we may specify one name on a parade because of the influence that had on us, and because those people's blood runs through our veins, you getting upset? You getting upset about us respecting people we come from, but you not getting upset over the fact that we were literally ripped apart and made to work until we literally dropped dead. You not upset about that. You upset about shit that don't make no fucking sense. I'm going to end this video because I'm really getting emotional, because I'm thinking about the reason the women dress up for Mardi Gras, right? Is a few things. But the two main things that stick out is the fact that black women during slavery and shortly thereafter, right, were forced into prostitution. And because so many of those European men were pedophiles, they used to make grown-ass women dress up like baby dolls. Which is why, if you know anything really about the Mardi Gras festivals, there's a portion of it where the baby doll is represented with the dress, the hairstyle, the umbrella, the makeup, the shoes, because that is what they used to force the women to do. And then there's another part to that where when the black women after slavery had to like fend for themselves, and war ravaged the land and there wasn't a lot of work because they wouldn't hire black people, especially black women, during certain times, they only could rely on prostitution to feed their families, right? But they also had to compete with the poor white women who were also indentured servants. Not slaves, but indentured servants, right? They had to find a way to make more money than the white women who were prostituting alongside of them. You understand? Because their social standing put them beneath everybody, so people usually didn't pay them, right? And took them whenever they wanted to. So the way that they could try to make a little extra money, or make money, period, when they were prostituting themselves and not being violated daily, they used those costumes. Use those costumes that they were forced into to be violated as a fetish way back then, in order to get money to buy seeds, rice, whatever it was they needed to plant, to make food, to have something for their families. And that's part of the history of why the baby doll portion of Mardi Gras is such a big thing. There's so much history there in those parades and in those festivals, is why they're so important to us. It's not like we going around picking things just to make fun of. They're connected to us. I mean, if you're interested in trying to learn instead of just criticizing and talking out your ass, I think it was the New York Times that actually did a whole video, what would you call it? Not expose, but like a whole video coverage of the preparation of Mardi Gras, the tradition of it, and some of the origin. And they did cover the part about the baby doll, the prostitution, and the enslavement and fetishes and pedophilia of the women by those European men, those enslavers that created this entire origin of that part of the festival of Mardi Gras in the costume. So if I could find that video again, because I did post it on my YouTube channel like a few years ago when they did the documentary, I will try to bring it again for you to see, because you should know things before you talk about them. And what I think is the problem is that not many people care to even learn African American history. So anything they hear, they believe it like it's the truth. And every time you hear a white person talking about our history, it is not based in fact. It is based in trying to make them look less of a fucking monster than they were in how they actually treated and dealt with us and what they did to us during slavery. And I'm going to stop there because, like I said, I'm getting kind of upset because I'm thinking about women who were actually related to me and how they suffered. And their suffering is symbolized in those parades and in those festivals. It is for us to remember where we came from and where we're going. It's for us to have a 360-degree representation and respect level of who, what we are, where we've been, where we come from, and where we're going. That is why we do those things in Louisiana. That is why Black American people do any of the traditions they do throughout America. It is because of what we came from and us remembering and paying homage to people who put their lives down for us to be free.